Hey everybody, we're going to talk about one-point perspective today. And we've done this before when we were looking at the idea of an outside scene where the road is going back into space and the telephone poles and the fence might be looking like they're getting smaller as they go toward what we call a vanishing point. So this is sort of the idea in an outside picture. And it works similarly on an inside picture. So we're going to try this out. So what you want is to find the center of your paper. I'm going to use a square piece of paper. This is a 9" by 9" paper, which is pretty close to what you'd have if you just used a regular piece of computer paper. It doesn't necessarily need to be a square, but when you're first starting out, it kind of helps to get things set up in a square way. So you'll need a straight edge for this. Now you can use a ruler if you have one, okay? And if you don't, you can always just fold a piece of paper or take a piece of cardboard and use that as your straight edge. Anything to help you draw straight lines will be helpful for this. And so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to find the middle of the paper by drawing a line like an X through the corner to corner. And I'm going to draw these lines fairly light, and they'll be a little bit more difficult for you to see, but I don't want them to be too dark right now. So I've drawn those lines, and now I know this is my vanishing point. Now, everything doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to consider this more of a general sketch to get the basic idea. So what I'm going to do is try to keep my ruler parallel to the sides. Okay, so if my ruler is sitting like this and this space is wider than this space, I know that it's not quite parallel. So the closer I can be, the better my drawing or my walls will be as far as lining up with each other and looking correct. So I'm going to do something like this. And so what we're going to have set out here is a basic room, okay? This is going to be the back wall. So I'm going to end up erasing these lines, but I'm going to leave that vanishing point in place for now, okay? And for what we're going to do today, okay, you may just want to take a marker, okay, or a black crayon or a black color pencil or even an ink pen or something and outline these lines. Because what we're going to do for today is we're just going to attach things to the ceiling, the floor, and the walls to build the room. We're not actually going to place anything in the room because that gets a little more complicated and difficult and is probably not for this quick version of the video. Okay, so all I want to do now is add a few details. Anything on this back part, okay, just needs to be vertical and horizontal. We don't have to worry about the perspective, okay? So if I want to do something like a window, fine, I can do that. For this, it doesn't have to be like super realistic, okay? If you just want to add some things onto the walls, you can do that, okay? If they're part of the building, they should be vertical and horizontal. If they're not necessarily part of the building, like a little poster or something that's tacked onto the wall, the poster could be placed on there off center, but that might just confuse you for the perspective thing. So maybe we'll stick to having things just be in perspective for now, okay? So whatever you put on this area here doesn't need to be using the actual vanishing point. Once you go to these side walls though, you're going to have to use the vanishing point whenever you do that. So for example, if I wanted to add a door, okay, then the first thing I would do is draw this straight line, this vertical line, and then wherever I want that door to stop, I'd stop that line and I'm going to line it up with my vanishing point here and I'm going to draw the top part of the door, okay? And then I can end it here, and I can go down to here, okay? And this makes the door frame here. Now, this could just be stuck onto the wall, okay? It doesn't need to be anything right now. If we want to show actual space, like it goes out into the hallway, we can draw a horizontal line right here, and then it kind of looks like you can walk out into the hallway here. And that's one of the tricky things. You might want to also add this part here, and then it sort of looks like there's a space into the hallway, okay? And I'll go ahead and outline that for today, just so you kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. And that's how you would add that, okay? If you wanted to add something else, like a window over here, you do something similar. Start with your vertical line, okay? And then connect the bottom of that line to the vanishing point. And you don't have to draw all the way to the vanishing point. You just have to draw whatever it is on the wall here. And that gives you a space to do that, okay? And then other things are always vertical or horizontal, but this line has to go here to the vanishing point if you want to make it look most realistic, okay? So what I like for people to do is try out some different things, like put a couple of horizontal lines here and then think about how that they would connect to the vanishing point back there. Once you get good at this, you can start to sort of eyeball things. Now this would be how you would start creating like a dresser or something sitting against the wall. We're not going to deal with any of that right now today. We're just going to deal with a couple of other items, okay? So like I could do a horizontal line here, and then I could connect there to the vanishing point, and there to the vanishing point. And then if I connect that again, I could have like a rug on the floor or something. So there's a few different ways to add those different things to the building. On the ceiling, the same kind of thing. If you wanted to have lights up there, you could do something like this, where you put 1, 2, 3 lines right there. And then to figure out how to make them look like they're in perspective, you'd line up with your vanishing point here in the middle, and your line 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm always touching the edge of my line with my vanishing point, and I'm just drawing as much of the line as I need to. So I'm always lining those up there. And you could have these lines up here. So you sort of get the idea of laying out the basics of the room. If you wanted to have the floorboards for perhaps be like a wooden floor, well, you could start by marking where you want each board to go, and then you would draw from the vanishing point out along each board and make sure each one lines up, and it would create this pattern shape for like a wooden floor. So let me spend a little bit of time just drawing a few things and outlining a few things, and then maybe you can create your own empty room for in 1 point perspective. Okay, so I've got everything kind of outlined now, so you get the idea, a little rug or something laying on the floor, the little door. But now we can take it and we can just mess with it a little bit in order to make things look a little more interesting and maybe just a little bit weird. So think about this. If we want to make this look like this is a hole cut in the wall for whatever reason, okay, we can go back from our vanishing point. We don't necessarily need our ruler. Once you start to understand this, you can do it by hand. Just eyeball the line here and then make this stop here and do a vertical line and a horizontal line here. And then it kind of looks like there's a hole cut into the wall. And then this would be like a little bit of shading here and shading here maybe, and then this is the outside, okay, right, cut through the wall. Now the window looks a little weird because it doesn't have the same thickness that this does, and so in order to make it look more like the other one, then we should probably create that same thickness in the window. But we're not going to worry about it too much. We're just going to play around with this a little bit. So we can make this look like it goes in to the wall so that there would be like a shelf almost built into the wall where you could place something onto that shelf that's there in the wall. We could do something similar with this piece where it goes vertical up here, and then this comes from the vanishing point going down this way, and then this almost looks like a skylight or something, okay, so it's like another part of the wall that's cut out and open and going up into space there, okay, and so those things are flat. So you can make this look similar to this shelf over here in that it goes off into space. Now this doesn't, I'm not connecting these two corners here, I'm just drawing a horizontal line. It just happens to bump into that corner. Okay, so sometimes you run into things with perspective every once in a while where things look a little odd or unusual, and it gets a little confusing about what that means sometimes. So probably this would have some shading on it. Okay, if that were darker, that goes back into space there. This would have a little shading. Okay, maybe a little shading here as you walk into the doorway. Okay, you could even turn this into a hole in the floor, like, and make our rug transform itself into a pit in the floor, okay, that would go down and who knows where. Okay, so instead of a rug now, you would walk in and whew, fall down into this hole in the floor. Okay, so we can kind of play with that idea of perspective. Okay, so we created this empty room and then we started to use the perspective to cut some holes into some different places. So give this a try it out, see what you think with 1-point perspective. Build yourself an empty room, and then sometime again we can learn how to actually build objects that take up space on the floor here, okay, not just cutting holes into the walls. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.